My husband is cheating on me with our best friend. I recently found out that my husband 42 is cheating on me with our married best friend, 32F. She is the godmother to our 4 children. They don't know that I know, but I caught them making out at the end of our driveway when he was seeing her off after dinner with our family. We live on a small acreage and the driveway is a long way off from the main house. She had forgotten some crockery at the house and I decided to walk it over, because for some reason the two of them always took a while to say goodbye. Now I know why. That's when I saw them lit by her car's headlights. Making out in the front seat with our best friend straddling my husband. In shock, I didn't know whether to throw her Pyrex at the car or just walk away. I decided the latter, and was too shocked to cry or be angry. When my husband got back, I had to pretend like everything was normal. I know that it's stupid, but I couldn't sleep that night and decided to go through his phone. She was obviously under a pseudonym, but I found a handful of their messages dating 2 or 3 years. Her husband doesn't know, he's currently posted overseas as a diplomat. I'm sick with rage and betrayal. I'm lost and have no idea what steps to take next. Update. I don't live in the US but in Australia. Technically, I can't file for divorce immediately as you need to be separated for 1 year and 1 day to file officially. My now ex-best friend just recently returned to the country. Her father has cancer, after being posted with her husband overseas. The dinner was to welcome her home, and what a welcome. There's some comments here about the headlights illuminating them. Sorry, I meant overhead lights. As to what I'm going to do now, a part of me just wants to confront my husband, see what lame excuse he has. But I need to get away from him. This level of betrayal physically hurts. I can't help but think of all the times we spent together over the years and for how long our families were fooled. My mind is going crazy when she was single and he would rescue her from some bad date, or the times they were alone in my house when the kids and I were out. How irrationally angry he was when he found out she had a boyfriend, then chose to marry him. Thinking back on it, the two of them disappeared at her wedding. When I asked him where he was, he said he needed to reassure her that she had done the right thing. I feel so sick thinking of these things. Update. As of tomorrow, my husband is out of town. I've tried really hard to act normal around my now ex-best friend, but it's proving difficult and I feel sick. I have been telling both of them that I've caught some terrible bug and just not feeling myself. While my husband is out of town for the next few days, my sister-in-law, who is the only other person who knows, my brother's wife, will help me pack important documents and store them somewhere my husband doesn't know about. I've organized for my kids to stay with them for a week while I sort my shit out. I've spoken to a family lawyer and they have told me that the best way to start the separation procedure is to no longer be living under the same roof. I'm fortunate in that most of our assets are also in my name, and the land our house is on was gifted to us by my parents. I'm planning to kick him out after his trip. But before that, I want to catch them both in the act again. Have some hard proof, send it to the ex-friend's husband and get the ball rolling for moving on with my life. I'll update with what happens after the confrontation. Final update. My husband came home 2 nights ago from his trip. While he was gone, I had organized a lot of the important documents, e.g. financial, birth certificates, passports, anything that he could potentially use to try and get more than what he deserves. They are now safely stored and my kids have been staying with their aunt and uncle for the past few days. I had packed all my husband's things and he has been really good at keeping his tracks clean because there was no evidence of his affair within his stuff. I placed all his belongings in the garage ready for the confrontation with him. I was super nervous because I wasn't sure if I was making the right decision. Once he came home and I remembered seeing him kissing our best friend, I remembered the deep hurt they had caused. I was in our kitchen when he came home and he knew straight away something was wrong. During that week I had been distant and had barely answered his texts and screened his calls. I did answer every now and again and gave the kids a chance to speak to their dad. He asked me why I hadn't been responding to his texts and he tried to kiss me, but I turned away, and before I knew it the first things that came out of my mouth were, "I want a separation." I have to admit that he didn't look very surprised when I said it. He nodded his head and said, "What do you know?" Which was just a punch in the gut, because I wanted him to deny it or say something like it was a one-off thing. I asked him to tell me everything, like when did it start? And he said they started about 10 years ago. At first it was flirtatious messaging and a sneaky kiss in the office when they briefly worked together, and the affair was on and off. She apparently always felt guilty, and her way out of that was to marry the next man that was interested in her and proposed. He admitted that they had sex on her wedding day, and when he is out of town they meet. At this point I couldn't breathe and I was sobbing. I hated that the next words out of my mouth was, "Did you even ever love me?" He hesitated and said yes of course, but he was never in love with me the way he was with her. I cleared my throat and had said to him that he should tell her husband there is no point hiding it anymore. I told him that all his stuff was in the garage and he can find somewhere else to stay. I let him know that I have spoken to a family lawyer, and I told him that when I feel ready, and only when I feel ready, will we see each other again and talk about the future arrangement with the kids. I said any further communication can be done through my sister-in-law or my brother. I said, he is allowed to see the kids but only at their place. I am of course wanting full custody of the children because it hurts too much to give him anything at this point. He agreed to all my points because he knew he was in the wrong. He tried to say sorry, and then I absolutely lost my shit and screamed, no way are you sorry, for 10 years you have both deceived everyone we know. Please take your shit and leave and tell that woman you have been FING for 10 years that I do not ever want to see her face again. Certainly not my shining moment, but also a culmination of all the hurt and anger over the last few weeks that they have caused. I have no intention of talking to my ex-best friend or really to my soon-to-be ex-husband until I have had the time to grieve. Sounds like you're taking the right steps and being strong. I'm sorry you are going through this, but at least your husband and his hoe don't have to suck any more life out of you. They are pretty selfish, narcissistic people who clearly don't know how to respect, love or value anyone. They don't know the meaning of commitment. Don't know the meaning of love for wife and family. If they continue with this selfish behavior without reforming themselves, they'll likely grow old and very alone. Glad you recognized that you and your children deserve better. Hope you informed the friend's husband too. Story 2. My husband is gay. We've been married for 3 years now, and I came home from a deployment about a year ago. It was about 2 weeks after I got back. I had woke up in the middle of the night and went through his phone. I found him on Reddit, making posts looking for men in our area. His exact words in the post were, "Married men for married men?" and was actually looking to meet men at our local gym. It made me sick to my stomach, but I had so much adrenaline I kept going. I also found him making posts looking for sneaky links. What made me even more sick was that these were all posted at a time when he said he was playing the game, the night before Thanksgiving, when I was tired from cooking and decided to go to bed early. This was the last thing I thought he would be doing. When I found all this out, I asked him about it, and either out of embarrassment or anger, he destroyed our house, throwing things around, ripping up our pictures. He packed a couple things and tried to leave. It was such a crazy thing. I had friends staying over for Thanksgiving, which was that day, and all this is happening behind closed doors. I begged him to stay and said it's okay if he has those feelings. Of course I'm not homophobic, it's just a completely different ballpark when your husband is gay. I mean, that's the one person you don't want to be gay. It's a year later, and I still think about it. He told me he was just bi, and that what he did was a mistake, but part of me feels like there's more to it. Like, what does he think about when we're having sex? Has he done this any time before or after? How am I to know if he didn't do anything while I was deployed? He said it was a one-time thing, but in all seriousness, who waits for someone to come back from a deployment to then do those things? He can't be that stupid. I don't know. I have my doubts, and I wonder if he's fully gay, if anyone can share some perspective on what they think. The worst part is that regardless of everything, he still cheated, right? I still think that's cheating. I just want to clarify some things. When I caught him, he did say that he only liked the act of texting and interacting with another male because it made him horny and seemed erotic, like it turned him on, but that's all. There has never been another instance where he tore up our things, just this once. We talked about it afterwards and he apologized for everything and told me he knew it was wrong and that he shouldn't have done it. At the time, I was confused and I know divorce is hard, so I gave it time. I'm confused. Are you still together? Why are you still having sex with a man who reacted super violent and destructive to being outed as a cheat and a gay man? He was cheating and somehow he was only looking for men to cheat with, but he's bi. He was looking for married men, or other gay guys hiding it because they are less likely to out themselves because they don't want to ruin their marriages. He's gay, he was cheating on you, leave. Also yes, who on earth would wait for their partner to get back from deployment to cheat, but that magic time when he was completely free to do anything without you around was when he was faithful, bullshit. Story 3. My husband is cheating on me with my best friend. I sent him screenshots of his conversation with her and my conversation with the Tinder guy I'm meeting on Friday. I, F29, had to move for a few months to a different city for my studies. I moved in September and I will stay here until June. My sister called me to say that she saw him with my best friend. We wouldn't have thought anything about it if my sister didn't say that she had the sense that they looked caught. I logged into his phone. I saw the texts, including the ones discussing the interaction with my sister. I sent him all the screenshots. I also made a Tinder account and started talking with a guy. We got flirty and planned to meet on Friday, and I took screenshots and sent them to my husband too. He has been calling and texting me since yesterday. Please baby, don't do it, he said. But I don't think I hurt him as much as he hurt me. Update: my husband is cheating on me with my best friend. I have found out more about the cheating and I guess my husband thought an explanation would make it better in any way. It just ended up making it worse. Much, much worse. Of course I haven't spoken to him in person because that is what he wants and that is what I won't give him. I have just been reading his frantic messages that he's been sending me because I don't pick up. I live in another city for my last semester of school. It was something that we both believed we can manage, and let's face it. Real couples who share real love do manage it. I visit home every other weekend and he comes here every other weekend. The weeks that I only have lectures that don't require physical presence, I stay with him and do them online. I knew it was going to be hard. Because it is hard to be apart from your loved one. But never did I think that he would cheat and use being lonely and missing me as an excuse, but that was his excuse. That this was harder than he expected and that he missed me all the time. He met my best friend on coincidence one day and he lamented how much he missed me and hated being apart, and she was supportive and understanding. Then it happened. All because he missed me. Can you imagine leaving your home and the people you know and love to be stuck in a city where you don't know anyone and have no family and friends, and read your husband make that excuse? I called my best friend's husband on Friday and told him everything. I wanted to know everything before I ruined another marriage, especially because she and her husband have 2 children. I apologized to him and told him that I wasn't sure if he wanted to know or not, but that he would probably eventually hear about it, and maybe it is better that he heard it from me rather than gossipy acquaintances. He was shocked and devastated, but he thanked me. We ended up talking for 4 hours trying to remember if we missed any red flags and how stupid we must have been not noticing any. I have heard that he has moved out with his children. The only text I got from her was that I was vindictive and not to worry. Her husband loves her and that I didn't succeed in my revenge. I have been living in an Airbnb these past few days because I knew that my husband would try to visit me, and I was right. He is currently in my apartment. I ended up meeting the Tinder guy for drinks. He knows that I am newly single and only in town for a few months and that I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I shared a picture of our drinks on Insta Story and made sure that his arm showed. My phone went mental with texts and calls from my husband, over 100 calls and 100 texts. To be honest, I felt that I needed to meet someone to talk to anyway. While I know a few people here, I don't really have any friends, so it was nice to just meet and talk to someone. He's very good looking too, so I will definitely keep in touch, and he texted me yesterday about meeting again. So nothing happened on Friday, eventually it will. I know that I will never hurt my husband the way he hurt me because I don't believe he ever loved me like I loved him. He hurt me because I love him. I hurt him because he loves himself. He and your best friend are both pieces of shit. I lived apart from my husband in different cities for the first couple of years of our relationship. We saw each other weekly like you. Sure, it's not fun to be apart, but it's certainly not like being abandoned, and it would never cause any normal faithful partner to immediately rush into fucking your best friend. He cheated because he wanted to cheat, and because you weren't around to find out it make him feel guilty. Story 4. I have cheated on my husband and the guilt is killing me. My husband, M50, stopped having sex with me, F39, about 9 years ago. At that time he had health issues that we thought was prostate cancer, and I just had a late and painful miscarriage. We both were traumatized because of our experiences and stopped having sex. We never stopped showing our love though. We still kissed, hugged, and cuddled the moment we got home. After a while, about 1-1 year, I started initiating sex again. He was very avoidant in the beginning and tried to blame it on many things, including what we went through. I asked him if he maybe should talk to a therapist, but he said he just needed time. We tried a bit, and after 2 half attempts I stopped trying because I felt unwanted and embarrassed. I stopped feeling desired and saw myself as ugly and unattractive. He never stopped loving me or showing me that with kisses and touching. Until about a week ago I still fell asleep in his arms every night. I noticed that he didn't have physical issues with getting hard, and it made me feel worse about myself for some reason. It must have been me he didn't want, or sex in general. When I turned 35 I realized I'm probably never going to have children and accepted that fact. We got each other great jobs. So I busied myself with the material things. We're both high earners, so we bought our dream apartment, built our dream lake house, expensive cars and designer stuff. And I was happy and content. The problems started again about 3 years ago. I wasn't satisfied and I told him I wanted sex. Nothing was enough for me anymore. Not the cuddling or the love or the material things. He said it wasn't me, he just didn't want sex. He was content with what we had, and I should feel lucky that we have found love and a great life with each other. He didn't want to get a divorce and begged me to just find some other hobby. Many married people don't have sex and very few are as happy as we are his exact words. I told him I wanted to separate, but he refused and asked me to go to counseling with him instead if I promised not to talk about sex or divorce in our sessions. After 2 appointments I stopped going. He was right, I loved him very much and he loved me, and I didn't want to lose the life we built together. Instead I started working out more, taking piano lessons, climbing lessons, etc. And before COVID we traveled all over Asia. When COVID hit and we were home for the majority of the time, I started fantasizing about other men. I am very beautiful, and even being almost 40 I still got a lot of attention from men. That was something I was aware of before but never interested in. Now I suddenly was. I found myself loving the attention and not immediately rebuffing men who approached me. This got worse when after COVID, my company started hiring many new people. Right before Christmas, one of the new colleagues, a very handsome 30-something-year-old man, was not shy about how beautiful and attractive he found me. I was overwhelmed at first, but secretly I loved his attention and fantasized every night about him. After a couple of months and some outings with him and other colleagues, I started talking to him more than any others. Last week, we were on a work trip to London. Me, him, and two 50-something-year-old ladies who weren't interested in taking a drink before going to the hotel, so I spent all my evenings with him instead. One of these nights he was drunk and bluntly told me what he in details wanted to do to me and asked me to go to his room with him, and I was just living my fantasy and said yes. Halfway through our session, I don't know what came over me, and all I could think of was my husband. I told him to stop and just left. This was a week ago. Now I can't bear the guilt I'm feeling. I'm so disgusted with myself and I hate everything about me. I'm a cheap, cowardly, pathetic human being. I have moved to the guest room because I can't let my husband touch and cuddle something so filthy and disgusting. I can't bear falling asleep in his arms, and I don't feel I deserve him. When I was fantasizing about cheating, I never considered my conscience or my love for my husband. I totally forgot these two very important feelings. Please, before acting on your lust, just take one step back and consider what you're going to lose. I have lost the love of my life because I was horny. I can't keep this a secret because the guilt is killing me, so I'm telling him tonight. Update. I have kept my word and told my husband yesterday. I saw immediately in his eyes that I have lost him, and if guilt felt so bad yesterday, the way he looked at me made it 100 times worse. He didn't say much. I didn't try to explain myself or blame anyone but myself. I told him that I was sorry. He is still at work and he's probably not coming home today. I have lost my best friend and true love. Story 5. My husband is cheating on me with a 18-year-old boy. Or at least he's trying to. I'm in my late 30s, he is in his early 40s. We have been married for almost 10 years. No kids. In the last year he came out as bisexual, but not by choice. I caught him talking to men on Grindr. He swore he never physically cheated and was just exploring fantasies he never had the chance to explore. We went through a significant rough patch, but ultimately I decided to give him another chance. Several months ago he asked if I would consider an open relationship to allow him to experiment with a man. I said that wasn't something I could ever be comfortable, and if he needs to do this, then the only option is to separate. I have tried to be patient and understanding. He said he didn't need it and I should forget he even asked. Since the Grindr incident, I have no fully trusted him, and I admit I looked at his phone without permission. He has been texting an 18-year-old young man for well over a month. The messages are sexual and he, my husband, is very overtly asking for more. I don't know if anything has happened in person. This is not a young man he met online, at work, at a bar. That would still be horrifying to me, but at least slightly more acceptable. He is our close mutual friend's foster son who we have known for years. I was aware he was gay, but I never would have dreamed this would happen. He is a child to me. I admit that at first I was angry with the young man, but I understand he is young and vulnerable, and it is my husband who is in the wrong. From the messages I saw, he was not encouraging this, and some of his responses to my husband seemed uncomfortable. I can't blame him. I have not yet spoken to my husband. I don't know what to say. He knows something is up because he is being overly considerate and attentive. I know I need to leave. I couldn't ever feel the same about him after this. I don't know if I should say anything to the young man or his foster parents. Small update, I am currently staying with a friend while I figure out my next steps, and I have been making a start getting legal and financial advice in place. I have not yet spoken to my husband. He seems to have realized something is up because he is being much nicer and trying to engage much more than usual, but staying with a friend for a few days is not terribly unusual for me in itself. I have not yet spoken to 18M and or his foster parents. I am still trying to figure out the best approach, but I have received some helpful advice from this post which I will keep in mind. I don't imagine any of this will be resolved anytime soon, but I expect the coming weeks to be extremely difficult. Further update, I have spoken to the young man's foster parents and briefly to him. Some information came to light that stressed the urgency and led me to believe it would be safer and more helpful to speak to them first, despite him being over 18. I don't have the time or energy to explain exactly what happened, and of course it wouldn't be appropriate to share a lot of detail. The situation is even more complicated and upsetting than I realized, and my husband is entirely at fault. The young man is safe, more or less, and my husband's behavior is no longer hidden from his carers. I am in the early stages of determining my next steps regarding separating from my husband, and I am receiving specialist advice about this. I was married 18 years to a man like that. He was very vanilla. Out of the blue he started accusing me of cheating. Turns out he was cheating. I left and it was the best decision for me. Caution: pregnancy hormones are wild, so take the time you need on making long-term decisions. Story 6. My husband asked me for an open marriage because he wasn't attracted to me anymore. About 1 year ago my husband, F39, M48, told me that he wasn't sexually attracted to me anymore. I kind of understood that because since our second, M4, was born he hasn't had sex with me. He said he loved me more than anything in the world and that the rest of the relationship was perfect, but he needed to have sex or he would go crazy. I was taken aback, but I started asking him about the definition of open marriage and we discussed it over a few weeks. TBH, I was feeling sexually deprived and the idea started to grow on me. I said yes and asked if there were any rules, and he said usually every couple had their own rules. So our rules is no bringing them home and use protection. My husband was very clear that he also wanted to know who the other person/persons is and when. The when he said was to plan our days. He was meeting news women within a week. He told me everything, showed me pictures and was gone most of the nights. Not gonna lie, I felt like shit, but I thought I needed to give it time. I was more careful, however, because I needed to know the people I had sex with and at least had some kind of feelings. But I started to relax more and flirt back with guys. One of them is a client, J, M36, at the bank I work for, not my client, but he sees me often and he always been pleasant and extra chatty with me. Now I started flirting about a month ago. I finally decided that I was ready to start sleeping with others. I told Jay about my arrangement. He was disappointed at first, but then he said he was in. I went home to my husband and asked him if he was going to do anything that Friday, and he said no. I told him that it was good because I needed him to be with the children. I showed him Jay and told him I was meeting him Friday. He was silent. Friday came and my husband texted me that he was stuck at work and that he later was going to meet a girl so he couldn't watch the children. This continued. Every time I fix a date with Jay he would do the same and leave me with the children. I don't mind spending time with my children, but I was getting annoyed anyway. Last Monday I had no meetings at work after lunch, which often means that I don't need to stay in place. I texted Jay if he wanted to meet and he was at home. My children are in daycare. I went to his place and it was amazing. I have missed this so much. The feeling that I'm desired and someone's eyes on me filled with lust for me, my body. When I got home I told my husband and he was livid because I didn't tell him beforehand. I broke a rule. I told him that I didn't. He knew that I was seeing this guy and that I've been trying to make time. Anyway, he didn't speak to me the rest of the evening. He woke me up in the middle of the night with gentle kisses and touches, and we had sex 3 times. First in almost 5 years. And we have had sex every night since. Now he's saying that he is attracted to me again and that's why we need to close the marriage again, but I don't want to. I like having other options and we're not hurting anyone. Husband suggests open marriage to get a free pass to screw around. At the end, wife finds out she liked the arrangement. Husband is furious. I don't know if I should laugh or cry. Story 7. I know that my husband is cheating on me. I need to tell someone. I, F40, found that out about 6 months ago. I went into a total shock. I thought he, M39, loved me because he tells me that every day. We have a beautiful family together. 3 beautiful children, 5, 4 and 16 mounts. Beautiful home. Vacation home. We are close to both our families and everything else is perfect. She, F35, is a co-worker of my husband that I know very well. She has been in my home. I have comforted her when her husband cheated on her and left her for his new woman. I saw her pain. Little did I know that she would inflict that same pain on me a few months later. I saw her nudes on his phone. Talk about their hookups on Messenger. She isn't even beautiful. She is disgusting, pathetic and miserable. I know I'm being a disgusting misandrist here, but I can't help myself. What does she have that I don't? He disgusts me very much. He is pathetic and stupid. My respect for him is gone. I have chosen to pretend that I don't know. I love my life and I'll be damned if I share my children and not be able to see them every day of their lives. Not him nor her deserve me separating from my babies, my home, my family, my comfortable life and my safety. Sometimes I think he knows that I know. When he looks at me and asks me to come back to him. When he asks where I'm in my thoughts. It feels like your body is here but your mind is 1,000 miles away. I don't answer him. He starts to argue. Sometimes it feels like he is doing it to provoke a reaction out of me, but I never answer or engage until he gets tired and leaves me alone. I never initiate anything with him, and when he has me, I just let him and I refuse to let him pleasure me. In the beginning he complained that I am distant and cold and that I want him to use protection. I told him I stopped using BC so he has to wear protection. His complaining stopped when I told him that it's either this or nothing. 6 months later, I am mostly at peace with my life. Still a lot of ups and downs, but the downs are getting fewer and further apart. Today was a down, so I needed to vent. The part of my heart and thoughts that were occupied with my husband were suddenly empty, and I have found out that I'm pretty good at filling the void with other things, new hobbies and even more quality time with my babies and loved ones. All is well. It seems you already emotionally checked out and really just staying for the kids and the life that you have. I hope you find peace for the life you chose. Story 8. My husband got our girlfriend pregnant without discussing it with me. My husband, 38M, and I, 30F, are in an open marriage. We've been married for 5 years and open for the past 2 years. Currently, we have a long-term girlfriend, 26F, that we have both been with for just over a year. I'm also 30 weeks pregnant and we're also excited to welcome our daughter into the world soon. Our relationship and time in the bedroom has never been better, until the other day when our girlfriend announced her pregnancy to us. I was so surprised. I didn't know she had been seeing anyone else. After I congratulated her, I asked who was the father and she said that my husband was. This was something that we never talked about at all, so I politely asked her to leave while I discussed this with my husband. Apparently, her seeing me pregnant and so excited convinced her that she was ready for motherhood herself, and she told my husband that she would be stopping her birth control. My husband never told this to me and neither did our girlfriend. So the entire time we've been together for the past few months, they were having completely unprotected sex without my knowledge, which was not part of our arrangement. I'm still his wife and she's just our girlfriend. I feel so betrayed by my husband to go behind my back like that. They don't understand why I'm mad, they think that I should be happy. I was aware that my husband has a breeding fetish, so do I, but this is much different than just role-playing situations and they don't seem to understand that. I don't know how else to express to them how disrespectful that was to me. Sounds like your husband has a girlfriend and you're just there. Story 9. Husband revealed himself as gay, ruined my life, but everyone is sympathetic to him. I was married for 14 years to a man who recently revealed he was gay. All these years were a lie. He claims he was just too afraid of being attacked by bigots to come out of the closet. So his solution was to use me as a beard. My husband used me, and ended up cheating on me multiple times, and I finally found out when I got an STD recently. But everyone, my friends and family alike, are supporting him. People keep sending him cards, and calling him to say that they support him. One of our mutual friends told me I was being selfish and insensitive. She said, "Sure, he cheated on you, but that's only because he had no other choice." In this day and age, being gay is dangerous. Are you kidding me? If this day and age is dangerous for gay people where they can never be safe if outed, then when will they ever be safe? There will always be homophobes to deal with. Another friend said something similar to me over Facebook as well. Their sympathies and loyalties lie with him. He is a father to our 2 children, but he isn't even very good at that. He has always been distant towards our children, and he's confided in me that he wishes I'd had abortions. Our kids feel disappointed and hurt by our impending divorce, but my husband refuses to take responsibility for anything and is hiding at his new boyfriend's home. Actually, he's already planning a wedding with his boyfriend for Valentine's Day 2019, even though our divorce hasn't even been finalized. I'm just angry. I'm currently single, all my friends ditched me because they side with him out of pity, my family keep telling me to behave for our kids' sakes. And even my therapist advised that I should be happy for him and support him because gay men need it most of all. What about me? What about the time I lost? What about the fact my entire marriage was a lie? How will I ever trust anyone again? What if my next husband does this to me? The thought makes me sick to my stomach and I am really stressed out. No one seems to care about how I feel. 14 years of marriage and he didn't have any inkling to tell you and gave you an STD? This is extremely difficult to forgive. Story 10. I saw my husband and my sister naked in my kitchen. I can't move. If I move, it becomes real and I have to accept what I saw and think of what's next. I came home from work early and saw my sister's car, thinking maybe she was dropping off some food from her job. But no, I walk in and see my husband and sister naked in my kitchen. The kitchen I paid for. As soon as I registered what I saw, I got into my car and left. I kept driving, just driving until I found the hotel I'm at now. I don't want to believe it. I don't know what to do. My sister, my only family, and my best friend, the one who's supposed to be there for me and support me. My husband, my person, my other half, the one who's supposed to love and respect me. The 2 most important people in my life have ruined everything. I've blocked them both on my phone. I don't want to hear any of the bullshit excuses they'll come up. I don't want to confront this. I want to go back to this morning when everything was fine. Update. I didn't think I needed to explicitly say this, but by naked I meant they were butt naked and banging in the kitchen. I admit mentioning that I paid for the kitchen was odd and kind of funny. But anyone that knows me knows that the kitchen is my pride and joy, so yes, when I saw my sister and husband banging in my kitchen, it stuck with me. And yes, they did see me. When I got to the hotel, I cried for a few hours and then I just wanted to tell someone, anyone. The two people I would talk to when something happened in my life were the two I needed to talk about, and it was 11 something in the evening, so I wasn't going to disrupt my friends' evenings and burden them. So instead I came to Reddit thinking not many would see it. After posting and another good cry, I knew that I had to get my shit together. I didn't have my sister or any family to help, so I had to do it myself. I started researching what my next steps were. In the morning, my friend called me saying my sister contacted her wondering if I had been in contact with her. I told her what happened, and she very kindly offered her spare room and her day off work to help me sort stuff out. I called in sick at my job and my friend helped get things done. I got in contact with my friend who works at a bank and she helped me start sorting my financials. My friend also found me a lawyer to consult with. After my phone consultation with the lawyer, I was so overwhelmed. I now know why so many women don't divorce their cheating husbands. It's such a lengthy, expensive, and emotionally draining process. I, fortunately, make a stable income and can support myself, and we, fortunately, don't have kids. I have to remember that things aren't going to happen in one day. It will all take time. As for the house, unfortunately, his parents bought it for us, and to be honest, after what I saw, I don't want it. I will try to get reimbursed for my beloved kitchen, otherwise, it can burn for all I care. This has been super draining, but I knew I had to talk to them. I already knew there was no coming back for my husband, and when I checked his messages, they said exactly what I thought they would say. I'm sorry. It's not what it looks like. We didn't mean for it to happen. Please come home. I love you. Blah blah blah. Just absolute bullshit. A small part of me thought maybe I could find it in me to forgive my sister, as we only have each other. But after I opened her messages, all hope was lost. She used the same excuses we heard our father use when he cheated on our mother and beat us. She said the same things our mother would say when she would excuse our dad's behavior and also beat us. I spoke to her this morning and asked her to tell me straight up who, what, where, when, and why. She told me back in July when I went on a girls' trip she was at our house and joked to my husband that I would cheat on him on the girls' trip because that's what always happens. He said nah, and they joked about it, but she said he could get even with me, and they ended up doing it once. One time lead to 2 to 3, then to whenever they could do it. There was never any evidence or signs or anything that I was going to or even thinking of cheating. I told her we were done and there is nothing she could do to bring us back together. I later received a call from an unknown number. It was my mother, who I haven't spoken to in 7 years. Turns out my sister has been in contact with her and told her what had happened, and my POS mother, the same woman who beat me for breathing wrong, had the audacity to say this is what I get for taking her daughters away from her. It hurts so much. I know things are going to get messy, and this is going to be a long few years. I've now lost all my blood relations. I need to get all my shit and find a new place. I want to show them that I can and I will thrive without them. I'm very proud of you for taking charge and standing up for yourself. I know it's very hard, but you got this. You will get through this.